Welcome to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum. My special guest today is Tom Agostino. He is the creative director of the Sharlot Hall Folk Festival, which is returning for its 42nd year on October 3rd,
Saturday.
2026. Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. It's a really big deal. We've had a little hiatus for a few years. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's Tom, I've had a real pleasure getting to know you over the last couple of months as we beginning planning the return of this fabled folk festival, which in its 42nd year, which in Arizona, that's a long time.
Yeah, this is, an interesting little anecdote from that is I was 2 weeks ago at Lon Austin's 81st birthday. And Lon Austin is the Woody Guthrie of Arizona music.
All right.
And he started the Glendale Folk Fest and all of the stuff that happens down the songwriter, basically any event that happens with folk music in the Valley, Lon Austin started it. And when we were there, he introduced me as a person bringing it back, the Sharlot Hall Folk Fest back. And he said, the thing is that the Sharlot Hall Folk Fest was what inspired him to do the Glendale Folk Fest. And everything about the Glendale Folk Fest was based on what we did up here.
I love it. I love that. And we look back 42 years. We can get our math correct here on online. 1984, 1985?
Well, we think there might have been some years where they did it like in the fall and maybe in the summer.
Okay.
So there was a few years that they did two of them.
Right.
But we don't know because I guess Warren would know. We should ask Warren Miller.
Sure.
The history of when did you start this thing, Warren?
Well, what a great tradition to bring back.
Yes,
our community is really excited about it.
Very much.
And for your career here in Prescott, let's just step back a second and we'll get into the folk festival. But when did you come to Prescott? Because your trails have gone across the country, and you said before the show you may have started in Brooklyn.
Well, that's where I was born. And bred in Brooklyn, but I was living in L.A. in 2002.
Okay.
2002, and we moved here. We moved to Williamson Valley, into a really beautiful house in Williamson Valley. And I was a musician back. And in fact, in L.A., I did a lot of big music things. In fact, I had a circus. I did that many big things. But I thought when I moved to Prescott, it was kind of the end of my music career. I would do maybe an open mic once in a while.
Sure.
But I ran into very quickly some musical friends in here, and they introduced me to Warren Miller, who was doing the Sharlot Hall Folk Fest.
Right.
And right away, I said, hey, what do you need? And I emceed the stage, and I did the flyer for the year that I was here and emceed the stage. And right at that point, my brother-in-law was part of a fledgling radio station that had just started several months earlier called KJZA. And I would take people off the gazebo stage around to the gift shop. We lift them up the stairs, and my brother-in-law was holding a satellite dish to the sky, and I would interview them, and it would go on this fledgling brand new radio station.
Oh, I love that.
And after we did the thing, the guy who owned the radio station came to me and says, well, when do you want to start your radio show? And I was given the Folk Sessions radio show based on that Sharlot Hall experience.
How about that?
Which went for 19 and a half years.
Well, it's interesting. Sharlot Hall Museum has had a very interesting history with music and radio.
Very much.
KYCA's first broadcast was from the governor's mansion from like morning to sundown.
Right, I actually knew that.
And which is really cool. And so we may have to reach out and see if we can find a radio station who might want to get involved with the Folk Fest coming up on October 3rd.
That's a really good idea, and I bet there were a few that would jump at the opportunity.
Well, I like to step back a little bit, and I'd like to learn a little bit about how your musical life started. When you talked about you grew up in New York, and was there music in the household? Were there friends?
Italiano.
Yeah?
Music always in the household. And I was singing since I was a little baby. In fact, it was kind of a joke in my family that I would just always be singing. And I was in bands in high school and everything. And then when I went to college, Wayne State University in Detroit, and I became, and I don't even know why, this many years past it, I was the vice president of freshman class. I think I was lonely. I didn't know anybody there,
Right.
so I wanted to meet people. So I became the vice president. And I got to put on a concert with Josh White Jr., the son of Josh White.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Right. And back in those days, he spent the night in our house. He slept there.
Right.
And I got up to literally stayed up all night with him. And he told me stories about Woody and Pete and his dad, sang me songs. Well,
Wow.
not just me, a whole little group of us. And that did it. And from that point on, I've been in the creation of music and joy through music business.
That's remarkable. And were there any mentors or teachers that were really important to you, or maybe your parents were musicians, or grandparents? It's just in the scene when the music was. I mean, what a great era to grow up in.
Well, it's really funny, you know. I was just always into music, but and in my family,
born with the gene,
and played in high school bands and everything. But I just really liked bringing people together. It was just kind of a natural thing for me. And I lived in Detroit, and I put on a few of these concerts. I met some, because Detroit at the time was Detroit.
Right.
And so I met some, you know, in fact, we had it in this place I was working with. It was like called Open City. It was a self-help kind of organization. We had a basement, and all of the Stooges and all these bands practiced in our basement.
Oh, about that.
So I got to hang out with all these musicians, really young, Ted Nugent, all these guys.
Right.
And then I moved to Toronto.
Which is a big music city.
Very big music city, and I got really into music there. In fact, was kind of given the opportunity to start it was already started, but they gave me the opportunity to keep it going, which was a coffee house in Toronto at Bathurst Street, and had a church that was called Sunday School. It was on Sunday nights. And all of the top musicians who would be traveling through Toronto, it would be the thing to come and play there. People like Bruce Cockburn and Jesse Winchester. I got to meet all of these great musicians. And I was the host, and I'd always do the first two songs.
Remarkable.
Yeah, and that's kind of how...
And it was Second City. I mean, it was Toronto's an extremely creative city.
A lot of really cool people I got to meet while I did that. In fact, what's the magician... David Copperfield.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, got to hang out with him before he became famous.
Right, right. Well, and so then from Detroit, you ended up in Los Angeles.
From Detroit, I ended up in Toronto, then West Coast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So did you end up in the Bay Area, L.A., San Diego?
I lived in Vancouver Island for many years, and I was part of a whole musical tribe called Medicine Wheel, and we were kind of famous in Canada. In fact, there's a museum on Gabriel Island that has a whole thing about our band in the museum, and there's exhibits and our music and stuff. And we got invited to come down to San Luis Obispo to play a big music festival to represent Canada. There was I got to change Buffy St. Marie's guitar strings. It was really fun. But the guys who put on the festival ran out of money, so we only got paid enough money to go down there, and they couldn't pay us to go back, so we had to kind of earn our way back, and we played gigs in Esalen and in Santa Cruz, getting back, and I fell in love with Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
Went back to Canada, turned around and moved to Santa Cruz, and came back to the United States.
Which was a real creative center.
At that time, it was a very creative center. This would have been the late 70s. Very creative. Yeah.
Well, it sounds remarkable. And I love talking about people about their journey, you know, about where their trails have stopped and where because everywhere you go, you're gathering just influences, and it's creatively just absorbing so much from New York to Detroit to Toronto, and then the Northwest, which is again a great music scene up there in the Northwest, and the kind of all these different crossroads of culture.
I once got stuck in an elevator with Jerry Jeff Walker. I think you like that from the...
Oh, yeah. Jerry Jeff
really
Walker,
fun.
the head gonzo.
Yeah, and it was this whole band, because you were going down from the upstairs, their suite, down to the set, and I was with them, and we were going down in the elevator at stop.
Right.
Maybe for 5 minutes, but it was really fun to be in the elevator.
Yeah, he's the cosmic cowboy, that's for sure.
He was incredible. Yeah, it was really good.
Well, let's take a quick break here, Tom, and we'll be right back and talking more about your musical journey in your career and the influence of great folk musicians in your life, and why this folk festival is so important to not just Prescott, but Arizona and Sharlot Home Museum.
Since 1995, Helkin & Horn Ad Agency has helped local businesses stand out and succeed. From print and radio to websites and social media, their talented team crafts your brand's message and offers a plan to get it out into the community. Want results backed by over 30 years of experience? Visit azadagency.com today. Helkin & Horn, where their slogan is Be Known.
If you're looking for the store that has everything, Prescott True Value Hardware might be your answer. From having that part to fix your leaky faucet, to decorating your garden with charm, they've got it all, and a friendly face to match. For over 30 years, they've proudly served Prescott, supporting neighbors like you and local nonprofits along the way. Visit Prescott True Value Hardware. They're more than just a hardware store.
Welcome to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum in Prescott, Arizona. My special guest today is Tom Agostino, and he is our creative director of the 42nd Annual Sharlot Hall Folk Festival, which is Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. It's going to be from, we open at 9 a.m.?
10 to 5.
10 to 5.
10 to 5.
10 to 5. And we also have a special performance Friday night.
Friday night, we're bringing in the Folk Legacy Trio, which are basically members of the Letterman, the Kingston Trio, the Limelighters, all those kind of.
Is that right?
Yeah, and these guys between them have like 12 Grammys. And,
my goodness, that
yeah.
You know, it is a really special event for us to bring this back. And Tom, we so appreciate your dedication to it, and you're inspiring to us really because of your passion for this. For folk music, for the, Americana, for the music that helps define our culture here in our country, but also bringing so many people together that, when you just started listing off the names of those groups, I immediately thought of my father and my mom. That was an era of their music, in the mid to late 50s, early 60s. I remember going with my dad to some used record stores in the late 70s, early 80s, and he'd come across a Kingston Trio, album. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I got to get that. We got to take that home, and you got to hear this album. And, there is one thing about music, I think, Tom, that you can speak to is how music is it binds us together over generations, and it's shared in so many different ways that brings families together, or it's nostalgic. It reminds us of, our parents or our grandparents or, our loved ones. And it's kind of soundtracks of our life.
That's it right there, soundtracks of our life. In fact, I do have a song. I call it my song. And it's about that every one of us has songs where you just hear the first beat of it, the first intro to it, and it brings you back to that time. Was it your first love, your first broken heart? When you got married, this, and I don't think there's anything more than music that does that. Maybe food, maybe it'll be a taste of something you eat.
Sure.
And it transports you to that time.
But your mother's angel food cake, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
but music so much, and even, in a sense more than food, because you'll hear a song from the band that played it.
Right.
And you'll hear it the way it was when you heard it that first time, and it'll take you to that.
Right.
That time. And folk music, it's really interesting because my radio show was called The Folk Sessions that I did for 19 and a half years. And folk music is a really interesting term because what is folk music?
Right.
A lot of people, it's the old stuff, it's the Kingston Trios, it's that. But new people, folk music is roots, Americana,
right,
twang. In fact, I just got a thing about an upcoming folk festival in Portland. And their theme is less folk, more twang.
Oh, how about that?
Which I thought was interesting.
You're going to get some Dwayne
Eddie.
Yeah.
But because the concept of folk is music for the people.
Right.
Music that resonates to us, that tells us something, that has a story to it.
Well, and I think that, at least for myself, the crossroads of folk music intersected, in my childhood, because of my father's passion for country music, bluegrass, But then as you know, music companies, they're going to sell records. You have to go into the record store and go, you know, rock, country, pop, jazz, blues, you know, but one of my favorite musicians of all time is Johnny Cash. And if you listen to Johnny Cash and you understand his influences, he's a folk musician straight up, as much as but he makes his living, you know, he gets recorded by Sun Records.
Right.
Brings to the table, like Elvis, like Carl Perkins, like Elvis Presley, like Roy Orbison, Jerry Lee Lewis.
With a really good band.
And they bring to the table gospel.
Right.
They bring to the table their folk music of their culture that they grew up in, the biracial South, you know, the influences of African American culture, and their Scott-Irish, their roots there.
Well, look
in
who
the
his
South.
wife was.
Yeah, June Carter.
June Carter.
Yeah.
The Carter family.
The Carter family. There it is.
There it is.
Right? And I think that, and then his relationship with Bob Dylan and appreciation for songwriting and for, you know, reaching Americans through their music, trying to, you know, helping make people's lives better through their music, and bringing some humor, some pathos, some, you know,
and then he hooked
happiness.
up with all the Texan guys.
That's right. Willie
Which is
Nelson,
really
and Waylon
cool.
Jennings, and Chris Christopherson, and
That's a whole nother chapter.
a whole nother chapter. But they all, if you sat down with them, all of them are going to talk about Woody Guthrie and Jimmy Rogers and Pete Seeger. And, you know, on the Johnny Cash show, my dad's partner, Joe Byrne, created that show.
Wow.
And when he was negotiating with Johnny Cash to start the show, Johnny Cash, he had some requirements. He said the show must be produced from the Ryman. We must record it there. And he had control over all the, you know, musicians who would appear on the show. There would be no censorship of their songs.
Oh, at that time, that's pretty profound.
1968 was the negotiation, came on the air in summer of 69. And that Pete Seeger would appear in the first season.
Oh, wow.
Now, the first show had Joni Mitchell and Bob Dylan, which nobody in New York could believe that the L.A. crew that was producing the show out of Nashville got Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell in 1969 on the first episode of the Johnny Cash show.
That shows who Johnny was.
Right.
Yeah.
And that he said, we're not doing the show unless Pete Seeger can be on it. And I think that's remarkable when he sees the moment to say, I have a stage to help America through music. And I think this folk festival for 42 years, and the fact that it's helped inspire other festivals here in the state, and obviously inspired your career in music. Yeah. Who were some of your early influences when you started saying, oh, I've got an ear for this. This is inspiring to me?
Well, growing up in New York and in Brooklyn, I got into more than folk, the doo-wop and the I used to call it rhythm and soul, and rhythm and blues, rhythm and soul.
Right.
And I really got into all that Motown and that kind of music.
Memphis sound, Motown.
Yeah, and just the harmonies and vocals, the Righteous Brothers,
right,
and that kind of stuff. And then when I basically was given this a folk coffee house to run, I started playing folk music and writing folk songs because I was.
And what are your instruments, Tom?
Guitar, bass guitar, electric guitar, bass guitar, mandolin, all string stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And what was interesting to me when I was living in Toronto, I got kind of adopted to be kind of like the math guy almost, in a sense. They took me on with them with a group called Perth County Conspiracy Does Not Exist, which was a very famous band in Canada at the time. And what was so interesting about that band, it was kind of made up of a whole bunch of different musicians, and each one was a solo guy kind of a thing. So they did this, and then everybody else supported them, and then it would like circle around. So it was like almost like a medicine wheel.
Sure.
And in that group was a famous actor, was a soul musician, was one of the best bluegrass players in town. So every musical style was incorporated in this one group. And I got to be kind of part of them. I wasn't in the band, but I would travel with them on the road, and they'd play at my coffee house. And so as I progressed musically, I adopted that style. And I always felt that music had to not be one, Peter, Paul, and Mary. branch it out, make everything move around, take influences, and play with different musicians who all could play 2 or 3 different instruments.
Right.
So your sound was always, and so that's always been what I've done. And since when I came here and started the folk sessions, I threw about every festival imaginable where I could bring in all sorts of different people and all sorts of different sounds. And that's always been kind of my, what I'm about. That's why this festival, to me, is important. Not to just be a bunch of guys with guitars standing on stages singing Pete Seeger songs, even as much as we love Pete Seeger songs.
Right.
You want the whole experience. You want every sound, every flavor. In fact, you inspired me to, we're going to have an outlaw country showcase.
Hey, fantastic.
We're going to do Willie and Waylon and Townes Van Zandt and Guy Clark and
I love it.
Blaze Foley, Neil Blaze Foley.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
and
that's
so
fantastic.
We're going to do an outlaw
I love it.
showcase.
I love it.
But that's such great music. Oh my Lord.
Well, it's really remarkable that Prescott has such an arts culture. And I'm sure that when you moved here from Southern California, that you really sure, because it doesn't show it. Prescott doesn't wear it on its sleeve. What year you moved here in 2002?
2002.
Right. So you would have, if you've driven down Whiskey Row, there's the Palace, there's Matt's, the Birdcage. I'm not sure if it was still in those days, the Moctezuma, the 1881. Yeah. And, there's little nooks and crannies here and there of music off downtown, but it doesn't reveal itself right away. I mean, it's not that Prescott leads with its cowboy hat. It doesn't necessarily announce ahead of time that there's all of these layers of culture here, and we forget that culture's been building here on layers of people and generations since 1864.
Right.
And we were one of the centers of culture in Arizona. And we're small against the backdrop of the modern Sunbelt cities of, metropolises of Phoenix and Tucson.
Right. But, because I've been involved in the music business here for 22 years, Prescott has a better folk scene than Phoenix. Musicians in Phoenix, folkies will love to come up here and play. And there's starting to be, there's a few people have now put together kind of a good center, but for many years you couldn't find the center for folk music, and it was just, there was no place it centered. They had the Glendale Folk Fest, but they started that based on the Sharlot Hall Folk Fest.
Right.
And Prescott, because of the Sharlot Hall Folk Fest, has always been kind of the folk center in Arizona. The Flagstaff Folk Fest copies us. Tucson's a little different because they have headliners and they charge a lot of money and stuff. So that's a kind of different scene down there.
Right.
So the Ronstadts.
Yeah.
They've created the Ronstadt Mafia down there.
Well, charlottehallmuseum.org is where you can find more more right now about the Sharlot Hall Folk Festival on October 3rd, 10 to 5. And of course, Friday night, we're having the special
Folk Legacy Trio.
Folk Legacy Trio. It's going to be a special concert. There's going to be VIP tickets and special prices for that evening, and then a separate price to come in on that Saturday. We're going to take a quick break, thank our sponsors, and get into some details about this year's Folk Festival at Sharlot Hall Museum.
History matters. For nearly 100 years, the Sharlot Hall Museum has preserved our community's story. And over at Findlay Toyota, they believe in that same legacy of trust and reliability. That's why we're proud they support us here at the Sharlot Hall Museum. Just as Toyota has a long history of building vehicles you can depend on, Findlay is committed to our community's future. Go see their amazing selection of new and used Toyotas. Experience a legacy of quality for yourself. Findlay Toyota on Willow Creek Road in Prescott.
For over 45 years, Blind Brothers Arizona has been the heart of window style in Prescott. From blinds, shutters, drapes, they custom design and install with the expert precision. Tailored to you, whether for your home or office. Trust the name locals rely on. Visit blindbrothersaz.com blindbrothersArizona.com today or call 928-776-1845 for a free consultation. Blind Brothers Arizona, the original since 1979.
Welcome back to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum. My special guest today is Tom Agostino. He is our creative director for the Sharlot Hall Folk Music Festival. It's the 42nd annual festival. It's going to be on October 3rd from 10 to 5. And we've got a lot going on with that festival. We're talking in the break about how many different acts are coming here. This isn't just a one-stage event. Tell people a little bit about how the festival works and what makes a folk festival.
Well, a folk festival is basically a festival, so there has to be more than one stage. It's multiple places, so you can just kind of basically plan to be there for the day, knowing that you're going to experience a lot of different things. Not only are you going to experience music acts, but there'll be workshops, song circles. If you're a musician, you could bring your instrument, and there'll be little musician circles where you can just kind of step in with your instrument, and the circle will widen to include you, to let you in, as opposed to going, who are you and how good are you?
Right.
Right. It's that kind of a place. And so you're encouraged to not only come to be a listener, but to come and participate. And what we do at our events when we create festivals is we make them very participatory. So we don't want you just to be sitting and listening to two people on the stage playing folk music. We're going to have song circles. We're going to have song contests. We're going to have different showcases where we're going to feature certain kinds of styles of music. We have 3 choirs who are coming, and they'll be doing like different places in the ground. They'll be doing choir music, and inviting you to sing with them and join them. And we have youth groups. We have Celtic dancers. We have contra dancers. So it's a kind of a lot going on.
It's going to be a blast. It's going to be so much fun.
And on the grounds, if you're familiar with Sharlot Hall, we'll have 4 stages, plus we'll have little areas outdoors where different things will be happening, whether it's a workshop or a song circle or a spoken word. And so there'll be, at any time, there'll be at least 6 things you can participate in if you choose to. And one of the things we've done, because it's only a one-day event, Sharlot Hall Folk Fest usually was 2 days, and most festivals are 2 days. We're doing this one day. So
kind of bringing it back.
Yeah. And with 4 stages, we're a little smaller than some of the folk festivals. So what we decided to do this year is, instead of just putting out an open call saying we just need musicians, we've actually invited the musicians that we've chosen through the incredible folk community in Arizona. Myself and about 4 or 5 other folkies that I trust.
Right.
I've asked them to send me names of groups that they support. The director from the Glendale Folk Fest, I had him send me his favorite.
Right.
Tucson Folk Fest, Flagstaff Folk Fest. And so we've invited the acts. So out of the basically 50 acts you will hear that day, at least 37 of them will have been invited by us. And we have had probably a 95% yes, I'm coming.
That is great.
And the only ones who can't come is because they already have a gig
Sure.
that day and they just can't, it doesn't work out.
Oh, yeah.
But everybody that we've spoken to is just so excited that this is coming back.
Are we getting people from out of state?
We have one Californian,
Uh-huh.
but we have people from all over the state.
Right.
And one person from either Iowa.
Well, I think it's going to be fun to hear all the different musical styles from across the state, and people bringing their traditions with them to the stage,
Yep.
and all the different music people are going to hear. We're talking about the crossroads of music. It had to be quite interesting for you to move from, you're in New York, Detroit, Toronto, but the big leap to Vancouver, then down to Santa Cruz.
Then to L.A.
And then to L.A., right into all those different mixes
Yeah.
of musical traditions and people from all over, and that,
So cool.
the Canadian side of it up there, and which has a great music tradition. I mean, the Canadian music's such influence on American music.
Gordon Lightfoot.
Right. And I was listening to some Ian Tyson on the way to work today.
Ian Tyson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't they have an early folk group, Ian and Sylvia?
Ian and Sylvia.
Yeah, right. They were part of that big late 50s, early 60s.
Ian Tyson, you know Gail Steiger?
Sure.
He and Ian are really, really close. because Ian came for many, many years and did, the rapid, Grand Canyon where they go on River Rat.
Oh, he would go down the
yeah, he loved to go down. So every
Colorado
year he'd come here
with his brother,
and Ian would stay at some fancy place there, and he would do a concert. And Gail was the sound man for years and years and years.
How
and years.
about that?
Yeah, you should talk to Gail about Ian. He has some great Ian Tyson stories.
Yeah, I don't know. His version of Navajo Rug is obviously one of my favorites. And so when people are coming together for this folk festival, we're going to have some food and beverages for sale here, and we're going to be working with the print shop, putting up some really cool posters we're going to create that people can collect from the show, and talk a little bit about some of those crossroads of music that have changed your life, and here in Prescott, let's talk a little bit about some of the centers for music around town. Do you have students that you've taught yourself here in Prescott that have gone on to their own careers?
Well, no, I'm such a weird guitarist that I can't teach anyone to play the guitar like I played. In fact, one time I was asked, some friends, they had a Kingston Trio cover band,
right?
And one of the guitarists, and they asked me to kind of sit in, and I can't play just a up and down boring guitar. I literally can't do it.
Right.
And so I couldn't play that kind of guitar, which I think is a compliment, mind you. But so I can't teach anyone to play anything. Well, but I have taught a lot of people how to put on concerts, because the folk sessions, one of the things we've done is we've brought into town. We brought into town Maria Mulder. We brought into town Roseanne Cash. We brought into town Tom Chapin. Every year I bring Tom Chapin.
And John Chandler was here a couple of years ago.
John Chandler's become a good friend.
Right.
Yeah, and Tom's become a really close friend. In fact, on July 3rd, we're bringing Guy Clark's son, Guy Clark, to do a show about his dad. In fact, we got a big article in the Courier today, so thank you, Courier.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
I'm a big Guy Clark fan.
Oh, well, you're a guest at the show. Let you know about it.
No, yeah, and Joe Ely just passed recently, from the Flatlanders.
Yeah, so these guys like David Allen Coe, who I think he just recently passed too, didn't he? Joe Ely, wow.
Jimmy Dale Gilmore, Butch Hancock, Joe Ely, the Flatlanders, coming out of Lubbock in West Texas with that.
Ray Hubbard, all these guys. What song is it?
Texas Tornadoes. And a good friend of mine is Mark Stewart. Mark Stewart and the Bastard Sons of Johnny Cash. Whoa. He likes to call it Texicali.
Oh, nice.
That sound along the border, from Southern California to Texas, brings in the desert. Those of us who've lived much of our life in the desert, in the Southland, that influence of Sonora and Chihuahua and the German, the rancheria and the polka and, there's just this cosmic mix of music.
The Southwest music is really good. It's not spread enough, but it has such a distinct sound. I've done several concerts with the Ronstadt family over the years, P.D. Ronstadt and the Ronstadt generations and stuff. And the sound that they have is it's just subtle and it goes through every measure of the music.
Well, and don't you think it's, I think every genre of music, the influence of the land, the people of the land, the culture and folk history there, and then kind of that amalgamation of people. I'm thinking of the Flying Burrito Brothers, how they came together coming out of the Byrds and that whole scene in Laurel Canyon, and a distinctive musical movement of that folk where the long hairs and the short hairs, the late 60s and 70s were coming together and saying, hey, wait a second, we love the same kind of music.
Yeah.
Why don't we make music together?
And bands like the Byrds and that really helped bring those two together. Guys like Gene Clark,
right?
He really helped bridge those two gaps. They brought the country and the can't call it rock. It was more like folk rock,
right?
Together.
Yeah, and that explosion of music happening in Laurel Canyon was pretty remarkable.
I lived in LA for quite a long time, and I had a really good friend who lived in Laurel Canyon, and I'd go up and visit with them. And on one side of them was one musician On the other side of them was another musician. And then I got to become really good friends with Art Purdell, who's one of the founders of the New Christie Minstrels.
Mm-hmm.
And he lived in Laurel Canyon for a while. And his roommates when he lived in Laurel Canyon were was Roger McGuinn, before he was Roger McGuinn, when he was Jim McGuinn.
Roger McGuinn with a 12-string guitar.
Yeah, before he actually changed his name with Jim McGuinn. And one of my favorite musicians who wrote Sweet Misery, Hoyt Axton.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And
Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
Yeah, and his next door neighbor was this woman, and she had a friend who was practicing piano every day in the house, and her name was Carole King. That's it. That's it, right there. Yeah. What a time, man! What a time to be in the music scene. It's a hard time too, because boy, I remember when I moved to LA to make it as a musician. You know, I thought I was so good and everything, and I went to it, and I thought I'd turn this off. And here's my percussion phone. Sorry about that. I thought I'd turn it off.
I love it.
I know. And I went there thinking I was going to make, because I was such a great songwriter. I was so good. Every place I'd been, I was. And this is L.A. I show up at the place I'm going to stay at. It's a house in Malibu, and it's all exciting. The pool guy has his demo. The pool guy that's produced by like one of the top producers in L.A. The person who's like cleaning the house, because there's rich people, has a demo. Everybody we met in this house all had demos that were so much better than anything I had ever done. I went, I guess I'll put it aside.
Los Angeles is a very humbling
But I got
city.
into the production side of things because I could do that.
Right.
And that actually did me better than if I had tried to make it as a
Well, you remember that song by Don Williams, Tulsa Time? Eric Clapton covered it.
Yeah.
Going back to Tulsa Time.
Going back to Tulsa Time.
Yeah. Musician that goes out to Los Angeles and moving back to Tulsa Time. It's a tough town.
It's a tough town.
And Motown moved there on top of that, late 60s, early 70s, right? And so the musical Capitol Records and the Wrecking Crew, and, it's remarkable. Well, we'll take a quick break here and thank our sponsors. We're going to come back and talk about some core details about this year's Sharlot Hall Museum Folk Festival, the 42nd annual edition on October 3rd. And we're going to talk about some details on how people can plan their weekend here in Prescott for the Folk Festival in October.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Stuart. This has been a great program, and it's going to get even better, and greater and better things are coming to Prescott, Arizona, and the Sharlot Hall Museum. In 1971, Prescott and Yavapai County became the backdrop for Junior Bonner, the acclaimed modern Western directed by Sam Peckinpah and starring, yes, Steve McQueen. And it's based on an original screenplay by Emmy-nominated writer and Western Writers of America Hall of Fame inductee, Jeb Rosebrook. Name sounds familiar, that's right. And the film was inspired by Prescott's world's oldest rodeo and Rosebrook's experiences growing up in central Arizona. Here we go. 55 years later, Sharlot Hall Museum and the Hazeltine Theater invite audiences to celebrate the film's enduring legacy. The evening will feature a panel discussion led by Sharlot Hall Museum Executive Director and Western film historian Stuart Rosebrook, joined by award-winning filmmaker and former Junior Bonner Film Secretary Katie Haber, former Prescott Film Commissioner and Location Manager Bill Pierce, and acclaimed Steve McQueen biographer Marshall Terrell. Through film clips and behind-the-scenes stories, panelists will share first-hand insights into the making of this Arizona classic and the lasting impact of Steve McQueen, Sam Peckinpah, and Junior Bonner. Here we go. The event includes heavy appetizers, a no-host bar, and book sales by Marshall Terrell and Stuart Rosebrook. Limited VIP and general admission tickets are available with prices ranging from $25 to $55 but seating is limited. Tickets may be purchased through the Hazelton Theatre box office or online. The reception begins at 6 p.m. and the program will start at 6:30 p.m. That's coming up on August the 5th. Be there.
Welcome back to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum. My special guest today is Tom Agostino, and we've been having a great afternoon talking about music, America, Tom's journey in the music industry, our fortune here in Prescott, that he came to Prescott in 2002 and has been bringing his passion to music on a daily basis to make our community better. And now he's helping us bring back, as the creative director, the 42nd annual Sharlot Hall Museum Folk Festival. This is where folk music festivals started in Arizona. And
I think so. I think this is the first official one.
Yeah.
It was here.
Right. And so October 3rd from 10 to 5. And you want to be here early. The tickets are going to be on sale online. It's going to be $15.
No, tickets aren't on sale online.
Oh.
Only for the Friday night concert, tickets will be on sale online.
Okay.
You can get those because it's going to sell out because
Right.
it's a small room.
Right.
In fact, we're bringing the Folk Legacy Trio, which normally plays arenas and stadiums,
Right.
into a 75-seat venue. So it's going to be a really
Right.
incredible
The
experience.
Folk Legacy Trio, this is a real treat.
Yeah,
it's going to be
real
an
treat.
intimate evening at Sharlot Hall Museum and the Fred Fail Education Center Theater. No more than 75 seats. It's going to be a remarkable evening. So you're going to want to look for those tickets when they go on sale.
And they're really excited about coming here. They're really into it. And they're going to stay. They come in early a day early. They're going to stay for the festival, too. And they're going to be here on site for the
Nice.
festival. And in fact, here's a cool little thing. One of the bands we have playing at the festival, headlining it, is McDougal Street West, which is a very popular band in Prescott. And they do Peter, Paul, and Mary and Laurel Canyon. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
they do. And their main kind of Peter, Paul, and Mary guy is named Rick Shore. Now, Rick is going to be out of town. So the Rick from Folk Legacy Trio is going to sit in with McDougal Street West for their
Oh,
set.
my goodness.
So they're going to have the other Rick.
Oh,
and so
that's
we're going
great.
to bill it, and it's going to be special. So he's going to be playing with. So it's going to be really, really
Yeah.
cool.
You're going to want to be here. You're not going to want to miss it. And then, so they buy the tickets at the door.
At the door, and it's $15, and it's for the whole day, and I think 16 and under are free. And while we say to cut here early, it's because we plan to open with a spectacle with dancers and big music, bluegrass, and so you want to be here with the opening act because it's going to set the theme and the feeling for the rest of the day.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and it's family friendly. Bring your children.
Yes.
It's going to be a fun day.
There's a whole children's center going on, and children's music and children's instruments, kids' instruments. They'll get to play the whole thing and make instruments and masks. And
Oh, my gosh. I wish I was 7 years old. Well,
food trucks and everything.
right.
Yeah.
You want to spend the day here. You circle it on your calendar, charlottehallmuseum.org for more information. Let's talk about the different stages, because there's going to be, obviously there's a pattern to who's playing where.
Yeah, we have this set up really nice, and all the stages have a different kind of vibe. When you walk in, there's the gazebo, we call it. And the gazebo's been, for me, the gazebo is where because it's right when you walk in, it's close to the street, the music, they got to be loud. So
Three chords and the truth, right?
Yeah, and you want some bluegrass and some lively stuff, and that's where we're going to have a lot of contra dancers and the week before we're doing our thing is the Celtic games. So they're all coming from the Celtic games because they'll all be excited. They're all coming and going to do Celtic dancing, and Highland going to be some kilts going on here. And
Well, the Scots just took over Boston, and we might have the Scots take over Prescott.
there you go. And
Hear
then-
that, Scotland? Come to Prescott, Arizona on October 3rd.
And we have a beautiful stage here, which is called the amphitheater, which has basically built-in seating for about 100 can
Right.
sit there, and a nice big stage. And there we'll put this kind of the larger bands. Like we have some big bands with quite a few people in them, and music that you're going to want to hear and be really able to kind of get into, and that brings you in. We'll do some of our showcases there. Then we have the auditorium. Seats about 75, 80. Indoors, very comfortable, beautiful sound system, beautiful lights. We're doing kind of specialty acts, like acts you pay for to go see.
Yeah, sure.
That's the best way I could put it. Acts that are like deserve that kind of setting where you can go into a place and kind of just be able to really appreciate them without a lot of noise and other stuff going around. So people like D Squared and
they're going to be in the transportation center. They're going to be here in the education center, at the gazebo, and the amphitheater. Anything out on the porches, the Fremont House?
Well, the porches are going to be the jam places where people can just do their song circles. We're going to have song circles where we're going to have certain people, and it's going to be, come and join us. We're going to do Peter, Paul, and Mary songs. We're going to do Pete Seeger songs at this circle. Or any song you want to do is go on a circle, and you can choose a song and make it an original song.
Right.
So we have about 5 song circles. It's kind of fun.
So do we need to send an email to Steve Martin? Bring his John McGuinn. Bring your banjos.
Bring your banjos. Yeah, well, we already have a dulcimer workshop.
Nice.
We have a fiddle workshop. We have a clawhammer banjo workshop.
Is that right?
Yeah. So,
wow.
we already have all those coming.
Man, that's going to be fun.
Yeah. So bring your instrument, really. Even if, you don't have to have a set to be able to play music at this event. Basically what we're saying.
And I love the fact people, that's part of what's, I think, exciting about coming to the folk festival is also what kind of instruments we're going to see, right? There's going to be all different kinds of banjos, different kinds of guitars, different kinds of mandolins. Washboards, yeah.
You'll see everything you can think of. You'll see probably some really, maybe even a bathtub bass, the old bathtub basses things.
Right.
I remember the first year I came to the Sharlot Hall Folk Fest, which would have been 2002. There was a young boy. I say young, he was probably 16 at the time, 17, walking around, and hanging off him was every instrument: a washboard, a banjo, a mando, another weird instrument, and he would just walk around and be playing it. And his name was Dom Flemons, who is now one of the most famous Americana bluegrass players in America. Played with the Carolina Chocolate Drops, and now he tours on his own. And I met him when he was 16 years old at Sharlot Hall Folk Fest.
Wow, I love that. Yeah. Now, what about kind of old-timey 19th century folk music? Do you have people come here and they're playing some of the sounds that would have gone up the cattle drives? And
we do. We have a couple of real old-time cowboy bands.
Oh,
fantastic. I mean, old-time cowboy bands. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I think you're going to like them.
Yeah, I think that's, that's such an interesting part of life. And, things have changed so much. But growing up in Los Angeles, in the elementary school there, you were introduced to folk music when it was music time. The teachers would bring out the songbooks, and so many of those songbooks were just kind of the classic, music of America's life, but from around the world, And
well, we have a little bit of we have some ethnic, we have a little bit. I'd love more,
right?
And from going forward, we'll have more. But we have a couple of really kind of cool things that are not your normal folky music. That more of the international folk. What folk means more than just guys playing 2 chords in the truth.
And it's non-electric, or we got some electric.
There'll be a bass guitar or 2, but they're not going to be amped. They'll be just plugged into the system because some people don't have the stand-up basses. They're just very hard to get.
Right.
But basically, it'll be all acoustic.
Right. And what other little interesting instruments do you think people will be bringing? What's
an oud?
An oud.
At AUD, an oud. We have an oud player he's from the Middle East. And he's going to be doing an oud performance.
Now, is that kind of looks like the lute?
Kind of long, kind of long and play it kind of up here and down there.
Right.
Almost sitarish.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And then what's the famous instrument that a lot of the school teachers would bring into the class that would use?
Auto harp.
Auto harp. Yeah.
We have we might have the auto harp group might come and do an auto harp circle. Yeah, there's an auto harp group in town.
Now, wasn't June Carter? She was an auto harp player.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
we have a ukulele. We have a ukulele group, and we have a kids ukulele group.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
that is going to be fantastic.
Large ukulele groups.
That is neat. Now let's talk about like someone like Marty Stewart. He had his television show for a long time. He is really a champion of all this Americana music.
He's
really a great player.
His band is, oh God, is his band good?
Right, the superlatives.
His band is they are
Marty Stewart and the
really
superlatives.
good. A lot of these people, because people just know the main guys, right? But as a musician, I like the guys standing behind more than usually the front guy.
Right.
And some of these people, like Marty Stewart, everybody in his band is like so good.
Well, this is going to be really a remarkable weekend and a remarkable return. And Tom, we are so excited to be able to work with you and your passion for bringing back the folk festival here at Sharlot Hall Museum.
Well, it meant a lot for me. Like I said, I came here and right away I met Warren Miller, was one of the first people I met.
Right. And
got involved from the first day and got given a radio show that I did for 19 and a half years. That was, as you know, doing this stuff, there's nothing more fun than doing.
Yeah, I wish I had a turntable here. I could be spinning the music. It's a little pirate radio station here at Sharlot Hall Museum.
It's the best. It's the best. Yeah. So,
well, Tom,
so this event means a lot to me, and I was so jazzed that you guys asked me to do this.
Will you be back on the show next month so we can do it again?
Yeah, I'd love to.
I'd love to kind of work our way up towards the festival.
Yeah, I can even bring one of our guest acts.
I got 4 microphones in here.
I'll bring somebody special.
We can surround it. We can bring them around the table.
Yeah.
Have a guitar pull right here at Charlotte.
That would be really cool.
Up here in the office. So, well, Tom, thank you very much. If you want more information, charlottehallmuseum.org. Tickets will be on sale that day for the festival.
Yes.
It's $15, 16 and under free.
Yes.
And then plug one more time our special event Friday night, because this is a once in a lifetime. This is not something that's in a big arena. It's here at Sharlot Hall. 75 seats are being sold.
This is a real treat. In fact, we're really lucky because another friend of ours who loves the Sharlot Hall Folk Fest, and it means a lot to him, has now become a big music agent and represents a gazillion groups. And it's his love for this event has made him reach out to the Folk Legacy Trio and get them to come here. And like I say, they normally do stadiums. In fact, they were here maybe 6 months ago and they did the college. They played in college.
Having the Folk Legacy Trio here.
In the 75-seat limit.
Oh, my God. We're going to have to work on a special poster,
yeah,
in our print shop on the Folk Legacy Trio that would highlight that event here.
And you'll be able to buy tickets. Those tickets will be on sale. And if you come early, you get to spend a half an hour. It'll be a pre-concert reception with the Legacy Trio.
All right, we'll have more information on the Folk Legacy Trio, how you can buy those tickets and come here to experience a little bit of history at Sharlot Hall Museum on October 2nd and October 3rd, 2026, here at Sharlot Hall Museum, the return of the Sharlot Hall Museum Folk Festival, its 42nd year. Tom, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you very much for listening to Arizona Roundup with Stuart Rosebrook at Sharlot Hall Museum.